Announcement, of course, coming up at 8 o'clock. Certainly, South Africans will all be watching to see who's in and who's out of President Cyril Ramaphosa's executive. We continue our discussions now on the wish list. Zwelinzima Vavi is the General Secretary of SAFTU, the South African Federation of Trade Unions. He joins me this evening. Dr. Vavi, thanks for your time. Well, SAFTU, a few moments ago, you said you really don't care who's in and who's out, but key issues for you are the economic policies.
Absolutely. We've seen 25 years of the same economic policies that were implemented under the first finance minister, Derek Case, and they've been repeated over and over by all of the ministers that have come through under this very same broad framework that have been outlined and given to us by the IMF and the World Bank. Its name is called neoliberalism, but post-2008, 2009, we have been seeing a biting austerity program of cutting budgets, including in the most essential areas of delivery by the government, education, healthcare. Even the IEC that was running elections was not spared. Everybody have seen a massive budget cuts. And frankly, those budget cuts is what is behind a worsening unemployment crisis South Africa is facing, now sitting at 38%, but 48% for the province where you come from, but way above that for the young people across the country. This framework is what have seen South Africa becoming the most unequal society in the world. The same framework is what have seen to a situation where 55% of the population is living in poverty, with some economists saying that actually that's an undercount by the Statistics South Africa. If you use an upper bound vision of poverty, we're sitting with somewhere between 63 and 65% of the population trapped in degrading, dehumanizing poverty. To us, that should be the debate, not personalities, not young and old, not that those things are not important. But to us, the important thing is to whose interest, which class interest is any cabinet, including the president, is going to be serving. Is it going to be the interest of those that have become even more rich in the past 25 years of democracy? Or is it going to be the interest of those who have become more unemployed, more poor, and who have now become the face of inequalities with crime out of hand, and all of that we know have gone wrong in the past 25 years of democracy.
So the faces,
that's to us the discussion.
All right, so the faces of, I don't want to talk personalities, but the faces of the likes of, for example, Tito Mboweni, you think a return of somebody like him would not give SAFTU the kind of change that it wants to see?
It doesn't matter. As long as Tito Mboweni, Malusi Gigaba, Pravin Gordhan, name them all who have been in that position, are still implementing neoliberalism, nothing or very little is going to change. You know what? At least we're going to look at beyond this moment of the past 10 years, which I think we all agree have been absolutely a disaster for South Africa. But what we're looking at least, is no change in the macroeconomic policy. The neoliberalism and austerity programs are not going to be ditched. But we hope for more efficiency, for more professionalism, for a more compact, smaller size cabinet that can be easy to coordinate. And within that framework, maybe we will see a 1 or 2% droppage of the unemployment rate. But it will not be something that South Africa is desperately in need of. South Africa doesn't need a 2-5% drop in its unemployment, poverty, and inequality rates. We need a total different direction from the path that we have traveled for 25 years that have simply failed the poor majority who are blacks in our country.
But obviously, the makeup of this cabinet obviously would need to aspire some kind of confidence in South Africa for investors. And that's quite key to how we will see, for example, areas that have been bleeding jobs in the mining sector, for example, if we'd be able to resuscitate that. Integrity is one of those issues as well. Talk to us a bit about that. I don't want to talk personalities, but certainly that comes into the makeup of the cabinet that will be announced at 8 o'clock that would need to aspire confidence, not just in South Africa, but beyond the borders of this country, that South Africa is open for business, as the President has said. Absolutely,
that will be important. We do not undermine the role of a president that is seen to be ethical, that is seen to be upward in terms of integrity, appointing people who are also seen by society and by everybody else to be at least astute when it comes to those questions. That's absolutely as important as anything else. But to us, it doesn't matter who's butchering you from the working class point of view, whether that person is having a smiling face, and our president have a very good smiling face, and or whether that person is an ugly, tall, black, it doesn't matter. What matters is what are the policy instruments we are putting together to address the crisis of unemployment, poverty, inequality, and crime, including the crime committed by the biggest, if we're to use that term, criminals in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, who are moving billions and billions of rands we're so desperately needing through illicit cash outflows and all of that. Now, a change of direction will say to us, at least we're no longer going to have an obsession with an inflation rate of 3 to 6% when we have 40% unemployment rate. We're not going to have an obsession with removing the exchange controls when we are so desperate to get all of the people that disinvested and listed their companies in London, New York, and elsewhere. And we're not going to be interested in all of these other funny things that the IMF and the New Yorkers are saying to us we must do. But what we need is to start afresh in the face of the overwhelming evidence that what we have tried before have simply dismally failed the poor of this country.
And very quickly, I know we're really running out of time. Our producer's going to be very angry with me at this stage. But if that does not happen, do you think that could spell a horrific start for President Cyril Ramaphosa in what he has seemingly been trying to achieve in trying to say to South Africans, this new dawn is here?
Look, there will be no change. That we know. We've seen the ANC manifesto. We have seen the medium-term budget policy framework statement that Tito Mboweni read. It is exactly the same medium-term budget framework statement that the previous minister, who had to resign in the face of him lying to the public about him meeting Guptas and not, I can't remember his name now, but it's the same medicine. Even if you can double that medicine of neoliberalism and austerity programs, it is not going to produce different results. Even if you were to remove Ramaphosa and bring back Jacob Zuma or bring back Thabo Mbeki, as long as they are still on that path of neoliberal programs, there will be nothing changing for the poor majority of this country.
All right. Zwelinzima Vavi, who is, of course, the General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, of course, having his say ahead of that announcement coming up at 8 o'clock, 18:57 now. So the clock is fast.